All right, welcome everyone. I'm Dr. Dela Cruz, marathon coach for the Pasadena Pacers. I accidentally forgot to record the video yesterday during our meeting, so I'm just going to do a quick run through today for those of you who missed it. If you guys have any questions, you can just leave them in the comments below, or you can email me and I'd be happy to get back to you. But let's go straight to it. Let me share my screen here. Perfect. So we have bib pickup. If this is your first half marathon, you have to pick up your bib prior to race day. So they have a couple options for you. Friday, January 19th at 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. You can go to the Rose Bowl at Gate D. Gate D is located back here. If you look at the map, you can park here on Lot D right next to the golf course. And Gate D is right on the northeast side here of the Rose Bowl. That's where you pick up your bib on Friday. They also have an option to pick it up on Saturday at 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Gate D. So if you're coming to the Rose Bowl on Saturday to run with us, you can just drive over to Lot D and pick up your bib there. You must have a photo ID and a QR code that the event gave you when you registered. If you can't find your QR code, you can go onto active.com and your QR code will be listed on there as well. You can go to Big Five Sporting Goods on Saturday as well to get it at Santa Monica or in Pasadena. I think it's easier just to go to the Rose Bowl. So it's right here in Lot D. One thing you can't pick up a bib for someone else. So everyone has to pick up their own bib. They want you to sign a liability and consent form prior to pickup. So if you're planning on picking it up for someone else, tell them that you won't be able to and you'll be rejected. So make sure that you have a plan to pick up everyone has a way to pick up their own bib on that day. If you have to pick it up on race day, you can get VIP hospitality. I'm not sure how much it is, but it's an extra 100, one to two, maybe $300, and you can pick it up race day. And then you also have access to like other private porta potties and things like that. But I think it's better just to get it the day before. Parking and transportation, there is a free shuttle from Pasadena that the Rose Bowl is allowing you to do this year. It takes off from Memorial Park Station and it takes you to the Rose Bowl in Lot B. Lot B is here, this red area. So the shuttle will drop you off here right next to the Rose Bowl and the starting line is in here. So it's a pretty cool thing to do if you don't want to deal with the traffic going into the Rose Bowl. The shuttles will begin at 4 a.m. on race day and will continue 90 minutes after the race. The pickup zone is on the corner of Holly and Raymond, so it's on the south end of Memorial Park. There is paid parking on Holly Street garage and the courtyard Marriott public parking structure. You might have to pay for parking in those garages, but there should be plenty of parking for you available there. I would still plan on getting there early. They will have multiple shuttles going back and forth, so you don't have to worry about getting there at a certain time. Just know that there might be a little bit of wait if you don't get there early. If you want to drive to the Rose Bowl, try to get there no later than 6 a.m. There's going to be a lot of traffic going into the Rose Bowl, and sometimes you might get stuck. There are a map that we're going to show you in a second that has green arrows that show you which streets are going to be open. The other streets are going to be closed, so we recommend that you use those roads to get into the Rose Bowl and don't rely on your GPS because they may take you through a route that has a closed street. There is traffic as early as 5 a.m., so please plan accordingly and don't take your time in the morning. Just make sure you get there early. It's better to get there early than to be rushing. And this is the map. So these green arrows here are the streets that are going to be open. Recommended to come down Seco into the Rose Bowl, and you can park in any of these lots or coming south on Linda Vista here. This area of Linda Vista would be closed. This part of the Arroyo would be closed. Rosemont would be closed on both ends because that's where the course is. So we have to make sure that we are coming down these two streets to get into the Rose Bowl. And since there are only two streets, you can imagine everyone coming down those two streets. It might get pretty congested. So getting there early will help. Unless you're taking the shuttle, which will drop you off right here. The locker room for the Pasadena Pacers, in order to have access to the locker room, you have to have a wristband. We're pretty low on wristbands. I ran out already here in the office. We might have a couple left over on Saturday. So if you don't have a wristband, look for Ben on Saturday at our meetup and we'll see if we can have an extra one for you. The locker rooms is available for all Pasadena Pacers, Azusa Pacers, Whittier Pacers. Our friends at Doghouse will be joining us as well. And I believe Skid Row is going to be there too. To get into the locker room, you go into the stadium here in the front, and there's two locker rooms. The Pasadena Pacers ones will be the one on the right-hand side. LA Roadrunners will have the one on the left-hand side. You have your private bathrooms in there, and you can also leave your things in the locker rooms here. There's no actual locks for you guys. You guys just leave your stuff on the floor in a corner. Just remember where you put it. No one else is going to go into that locker room but us. So you don't have to worry about any random people going in there and taking your things. This is better than gear check-in because you don't have to fight, the thousands of people trying to check their gear. You can just leave your stuff here. About 30 minutes before the race starts, we're going to take our picture like this one. And then we're all going to walk out together to the starting line about 30 minutes after. It might be raining, so you guys have a good perk of being inside the warm locker rooms before the start. Gear check, most of you probably aren't going to use the gear check, but if you happen to not get a wristband or you don't want to use the locker room, you can always have the McCourt Foundation hold your bag. They'll give you a clear plastic bag at bib pickup, and you just put your tag on there so they know that it's yours. You can drop off your stuff as early as 5:30 in the morning and then just pick it up at the same location afterwards. They'll match your bib with what you put on your bag. If you don't pick up your stuff after 11:30, it'll be taken to the McCourt Foundation office. You can get it there. Starting line is at 7 a.m. It will start simultaneously with the 5K. They start parallel to each other on 2 different streets. The event is self-seated, so they ask the faster runners to go in front and the slower runners to go in the back. That way, no one's running over each other and there's less congestion. There will be restrooms near the starting line, but I recommend trying to go beforehand because those restrooms do get pretty busy and you might be waiting a while and potentially miss the start of the race because of the lines. There are pace leaders that the LA Roadrunners are courtesy enough to provide for the Rose Bowl half marathon and I believe for the LA Marathon too. They'll be wearing blue shirts and a big pace leader sign will be on them. They'll be carrying flags and the paces that they will be going at is 1:30, 1:40, 1:50, 2 hours, 2:15, 2:30, 2:45, and 3 hours. So if you plan on running one of those paces, it'd be good to line up near that runner. If you're also aren't sure where to line up in the starting line, if you know where you're going to finish, or say you're planning on doing a 2-hour half marathon, find the 2-hour pace leader and line yourself up amongst them so you know that you're around the same area that you're supposed to be. So no one's running you over or you're not running anyone else over at the starting line. There are 8 stations. The 5K will only have one aid station at mile 2. They will have water and electrolyte. The half marathon will have many more. They have one at 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 11. Pasadena Pacers, Azusa Pacers, Whittier Pacers, Doghouse, we will be at mile 3 and also coming back at mile 8 or 9. So be prepared to see all your friends out there cheering you, handing you out water and electrolytes. And we also have some photographers there taking pictures, so make sure you smile when you run by. Electrolyte will be available for the half marathon, except for mile 2. Mile 2 is really early anyway, so you might not need any electrolytes anyway. So, but they will be at every other station. There's also GU. The brand GU will be distributed at 2 aid stations near mile 4.5 and 7.5. So if you wanted to pick up some GU, just know that they're only available at those 2 spots. They're not going to be at every single aid station. I do recommend that you practice taking these nutrition, even though a half marathon might not absolutely need it. If you plan on running the marathon, it's important to teach your body to utilize the nutrition that we give it. When we run, we're usually not able to digest food and it usually just sits in the stomach. So if we take all these gels and nutritions, your body might not be using it because it doesn't know how to use it when you're running. When we run, we're in our fight or flight mode and the digestive system does shut down and it does not want to function. So the more you put things in your stomach while you exercise, the more your body will learn to utilize it. So it's important to practice during our longer runs, practice during these half marathons, so that when we get to the marathon, your body knows what to do when you do ingest the GU or the electrolytes. It knows how to use it. And it's not just sitting there and you don't hit the wall at mile 18 to 20. I did mention in the meeting that we burn around 100 to 120 calories per mile, and we have about 2,000 calories every day that we store so that we can use. If you count that up by mile 18, you're roughly burning 2,000 calories, which is what our daily expenditure is, which is why we usually hit the wall around mile 18 or 20. If you start to fuel early with these GUs, each GU has about 100 calories. Each electrolyte mixed drink has about 50 calories. If you start to take them early, you can replenish those calories and nutrition while you burn it so that when you get to 18, you wouldn't have burned you would have a net gain of like 1,500 burnt calories instead of the 2,000 calories. And you'll have enough to get to that finish line. So it's important to practice taking nutrition while running. There's a time limit. I don't think we should have a problem with our runners, but the 4-hour time limit is in place for this event. Any participant who falls behind 4-hour pace, which is about 19 minutes per mile, will be asked to go onto the sidewalk to finish the run. There's also going to reopen the street. Wilson just before mile 6 at 9:30, so you have to be past that area. Otherwise, you'll be asked to skip that spot. There are no pets allowed on the course and no strollers allowed on the course, so don't plan on running with your cat or turtle because they won't allow you. The weather, this was yesterday's weather. It kind of moved a little bit. It's going to move every day until we get closer. Right now, it says that the rain is expected to go until around 7:30. But what I found here in LA, that usually the last 2 hours of the expected rain, it doesn't usually rain. So I don't expect to have much rain. If it is, it might just be a little bit of drizzle at the start of the race. There might be some before and later after, like around 4 p.m., but we might be done. This is the chances of precipitation. So at 7 a.m., there's 30% chance of rain, but as you see, as it gets further on, it goes to 0. So there might be a little bit of rain, but I don't think it's going to be anything that's going to cause any problems. If it does rain though, here are some tips for you. Wear a hat with a brim. You can kind of flex your head a little bit so the rain doesn't go into your eyes. Anti-chafing cream or spray anywhere that might rub together to prevent the chafing. Underarms and between the legs, sometimes right here in the chest, can help. Warm clothes before the race. Bring some extra clothes. You can keep it in the locker room afterwards so you can get warm. We don't get sick by running in the rain. We get sick by staying wet and cold after we run in the rain. So as long as you get warm immediately afterwards, then you should be okay and not have to worry about getting any sickness. Throw away a long sleeve or jacket. Something that we like to do when it's a really cold race is get like a long sleeve that you really don't like, or you don't mind losing. Maybe go to Goodwill or Ross or Marshall, somewhere that sells very cheap long sleeves and jackets, and you can wear it right before the race at the starting line. And when the race starts, you can take it off and toss it to the side. Most races take everything that's tossed and they donate it back to these stores or to a charity. So you get to stay warm before, and you know that your clothing is being donated for a good cause. It's a win-win for everyone. If you don't want to do that, you can always just get a poncho or get a really big black trash bag. We used to do that in college. It actually works better than a poncho. Cut a hole at the top and on the side, make little arms. You can run with it, and then just toss it in a trash can right before your race. It keeps you warm if it is raining at the starting line. We want to avoid cotton socks. They cause a lot of blisters, and we also want to trim our toenails regardless if it's raining or not. Long toenails can push up against the front of the shoe and then cause bruises, and then eventually you lose a toenail. If it's raining, your foot slides even more, which makes it a higher chance of you bruising a toenail. So we don't want that. Here's the course. Here's a brief overview. As you can tell, there's plenty of hills. I mean, it is Pasadena, and this is where we train all the time, so you guys are familiar with it. We kind of go down into the Arroyo, up Orange Grove into Pasadena, back, and then I'm finished with the Rose Bowl loop. There are 3 hairpin turns. There are 3 U-turns. This is one here, 2. I think this is Green Street, Lake, and I think Mar Vista. These U-turns can slow us down a lot if you plan on using a plated shoe like the Nike Alpha Fly or the Vaporfly or the Saucony Endorphin Pros. Those shoes are meant to go fast in one direction. They're not really meant for really sharp turns. So if you plan on using those shoes, just be wary with these sharp turns. Even the one down here, when you turn from Colorado onto Linda Vista, if you're turning too fast, you might notice that your foot might slide a little bit off that shoe, and it gives you that possibility of falling. So try and kind of take a little bit of a wider turn to go around instead of going closer to the cone, to help prevent the angle from you turning so that you don't fall. And slow down a little bit. Just be cautious, especially if it is raining, the floor will be wet. So increases the likelihood of falling. We don't want that. And we finish inside the bowl, which is awesome because a lot of people don't usually get to go onto the field, and you guys do. Let me exit this, and we'll go into more in depth with the course. So this is on Strava. I made this. I'll share this after. If we go down to the starting line, we will be starting, the half marathon will be starting here on Rose Bowl Drive right next to the short loop. The 5K, I believe, is here on Arroyo. So the 5K will start at the same time as the half marathon. You guys will both run down this street. 5K will turn right on Seco and continue around the bowl. The half marathon will come down, turn right on Seco, but then go down Arroyo. So when you come down Arroyo, you're gonna come all the way down past the aquatic center and then just continue until we get to California. And if you guys remember, most of that is downhill. So you're gonna start here, come all the way down, and all that is downhill. If you look here at the elevation map, you're gonna come down, 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 get this little incline, but you're not going to feel it because you're going to be full of adrenaline and a lot of people around you. You're just going to be having a great time. You're going to continue to go down. And just before mile 2 at 1.7, you're going to make this left turn on California and you're going to see the California Hill. So we don't want to go out too fast here because it's very common for people to go out way too fast because you're excited. It's your first half marathon. A lot of people are cheering for you. So many people around you trying to fight for position. Just be conservative on this downhill. It's okay to go a little fast, but you don't want to kill yourself because we do have this California Hill coming up. I think we did it a couple times during training. This California Hill is pretty steep. When we get to the top of this hill, what a lot of people tend to do is push right at the peak because they know they're almost at the top. Then they make this left turn on Orange Grove. You look at the elevation map, you still have about a 2% grade all the way up to Colorado. So we don't want to push too hard when you get to the top of California because when you turn left, you're still going up. You're only about halfway up the hill when you get up to the top of California. A lot of people don't realize that Orange Grove is also a slight incline. So they go way too fast between mile 2 and 3. And by the time they get to the Pacer station at mile 3, they already look like they're dead and exhausted and spent. And you still have 10 miles to go. So my best advice is to take these first 3 miles nice and conservative. Just get through it. Just have a good time with the crowd and find a good rhythm where you're not killing yourself. When you turn on Colorado, you're gonna have this steep downhill before the Pacer aid station. Don't take that downhill super fast either. Sometimes if you go way too fast on the downhill, your legs move faster than your lungs and your diaphragm, and then we start to get some cramps. We don't want that either. This is, I think, the steepest downhill, one of the steepest downhills. So just take that nice and easy too. Once you pass the Pacers here at mile 3, then that's when your race begins and you can start to push and find your rhythm and get back to your normal pace because most of that going out is mostly downhill all the way until about mile 7 you start to climb again. So from 3 to 7 you get a good 4 mile stretch where you can pick up your pace, find your rhythm. Just be cautious with these hairpin turns here on Lake, Green Street on Lake, and then also here on Mar Vista. But then once you get past and come back up to Green Street here, you're going to start to climb. If you can see here on the elevation map, it's a gradual incline all the way back to the Pacer aid station. So between 6.5 to about 8.5, you get about 2 miles of gradual incline. This part you just need to get through it. It's going to be tough. Just visualize yourself getting to the aid station. This is where all the mental mantras come in. Just say 1 mile at a time. You just need to do that twice. Tell yourself just need to get back to the aid station to see your pacer friends. And as soon as you get back to the aid station, the course gets a little bit easier. So I think this will be the toughest part of the course here because you've already ran about 7 miles and we start to climb again. But just know that it's only about 2 miles of climbing and it's just gradual climbing. So you're not going to technically see it. It's going to be a nice gentle incline. So you can technically still run pretty hard there. You see here, it's about a 1% grade. So it's not going to be anything that's going to kill you. But just know that it is going to be harder than going out because of the incline. You might be getting tired, but it's also because of the incline. Just know that you'll have more energy after you pass the Pacer aid station. There is a slight hill here, but use our energy at the aid station to get you to the top. Once you get to the Colorado Bridge, you get this big downhill where you can make up a lot of time. And this part here, this is where we go on to Linda Vista and then we travel down into the Rose Bowl. So once we get to here, this is home court advantage. You guys have done this many times. Just go down Linda Vista, make this U-turn here across the Colorado Bridge, down Linda Vista, and then we have to go around the Rose Bowl, the dreaded Rose Bowl. A lot of people don't like this part of the course, but just realize we do this all the time. And it's just 1 mile uphill. So if you get down to here at the bottom, this is 10.3. When you get to the top, this is about 11.6. So this is 1 mile to get to the top of the bowl. And once you get to the top of the bowl, you get 1 mile of downhill. A lot of people like to take this 1 mile conservative because they know it's uphill. I say hammer this mile because you're almost done anyway. When you get to the top of the hill, you're always going to have energy to run a fast downhill mile, or you just get through the downhill mile. You're going to have energy once you get to the top of the hill, regardless, because every step you take, you're getting closer. So whatever energy you have left, just try to get through this hill and just push and try to get back on your pace and know that it's not that far. Once you get to the top, you know where the top is. It's smooth sailing all the way down to the finish. When you get down here to the bottom, you get to make this nice U-turn and go into the Rose Bowl. So overall, the course isn't too crazy. You do have some hills, but if you navigate it correctly, it shouldn't be too bad. Take this first 3 miles nice and conservative, push the next 4 all the way to 7. And when you get to 7, just cruise until you get back to the Pacer aid station to 9. And then from about 9.5 to the finish, that's where you make up most of your time at the finish. You got to push this hill and then finish off with that last fast downhill. Okay. Any questions on this route, you can always ask me after as well. And let's go back to the presentation. Okay, and there is a finish line festival. It starts at 7 a.m. and finishes at 12 p.m. There's a beer garden at 7:30 to 11:30. When you're on the field, you can hang out with your friends, take some pictures. They have some photo ops there. It's pretty cool just being down onto the field. You can also take some pictures with your families and friends in the Finish Festival. I don't think they can go into the Rose Bowl, but after the bowl, outside of the bowl, they have a little festival with like booths and people will be there handing out things, and beer garden will be there as well. Everyone gets, I think, 1 free beer. Afterwards, you have to buy your second one. You need an ID in order to drink the beer, obviously 21 and over. Okay. And that's all I have. So if there's any questions, go ahead and you can go ahead and ask me or email me, or just send it to the Pacer inbox and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Okay. Hope this helped. Have a good one. Good luck.